Hi, welcome back. In this session, we will study or we will learn about the virtual service. So in Azure or in any cloud, we have the virtual machine services where you can go and spin up your virtual machine. So now, what exactly I mean by that is, so let's first compare the on-premises thing and the cloud part. What is the difference between them? So when someone says on-premises, and usually people say on-prem. So when we say on-prem, what happens? A company goes and buys his own data center, his own maybe you can say physical servers and database servers and everything. And then the company goes and if you see here, the company has spin up their own virtual machines, or you can say the physical servers on top of the data center what they have bought in. So now if they want to spin up their SQL servers, if they want to have some printing machines like print physical servers, some management physical servers, so they will go and spin up all those physical machines on the on-prem data center what they have bought. Now the disadvantage of this model is I have to upfront buy a lot of compute power, a lot of space, and a lot of infrastructure, which is maybe required maybe down the line for 1 year, for 2 year or 3 year, or I am trying to prepare for a peak. When I say a peak season means, for example, say November and December, there is a peak season where I need a lot of compute power. Now, after November and December, that specific compute power is not used and not utilized. So now in that case, what happens? You end up paying for the entire infrastructure for the entire year, or for down the line, whatever lease you have taken. So in this case, there is a lot of waste of the compute power, which is not used in rest of the days when it is not peak. So now in contrary to this, what happens is in any of the cloud, so specifically here, if you talk about the Azure, if you see on the right hand side, now Azure gives you an infrastructure where you can go and spin up your virtual machine. So if you see here, there is a virtual network, and inside virtual network, I have all my virtual machines. So one can be a SQL server, one can be a same management application, one can be a print application. So in this way, what happens? I will go and spin up my VM in the cloud, in the Azure cloud, and I will use it for the time I need it. So I will go as a pay as service, and then when I don't need those servers, I don't need those VMs, what exactly I will do? I will go in, I will stop and deallocate those VMs. So now in that case, I don't have to pay. Or if I'm not stopping or deallocating, I can still go and decrease the number of VMs which I'm using for those services or for those applications. So this is the basic difference between the on-prem and the Azure cloud or any of the cloud infrastructure. So on-prem, let me summarize. On-prem, you have to buy the upfront infrastructure by the company, and they have to keep that lease maybe down the line for 3 years, for 4 years, or whatever the contract period would be. And at the same time, you may be using the peak of that infrastructure maybe during November, December, or any of the peak season which the company is planning for, and for rest of the days you're not using that compute power. So you have to upfront invest a lot in the infrastructure. But as compared to the to Azure cloud or any other cloud, you have to go and determine when exactly your peak would be and where I will be using those specific services or those specific VMs, and then finally you go and utilize it. And if you don't need it, you stop, deallocate, and you save the money which you want. So hopefully this adds a value and gives an input to what exactly the difference between the on-prem virtual machines, on-prem physical servers where you put your machines, and on the cloud virtual machines, and what is the difference and how you can save the cost. So down the line, we will study more about how I can spin up the virtual machines, how I can play around with all the different kind of VMs and the virtual networks, and how exactly we will see in the later lecture. Thank you for watching. Thanks a lot.